Dude, shut her down. Shut her down. That thing's protesting worse than a politician being forced to take economics classes. What's up, Bug Dog Houdini in the garage? What you all just heard was a mild to moderate power steering belt squeal. What occurs is your power steering pulley slips on your power steering belt, creating that sound. What we're going to do today is discuss a variety of ways to fix that, from the easy and the inexpensive on up to the still pretty easy and still pretty inexpensive. All right, the very first thing you're going to need to do is understand your power steering system. All right, friends, real quick crash course. Your power steering, you have the mechanical component and then the hydraulic component. The mechanical component is going to be a steering box or a rack and pinion. That's going to be somewhere down in there most likely, or if you've got a Jeep like that one, maybe you got a steering box in the corner over there. Either way, that is the mechanical. It's either a literal rack and pinion or a Saginaw style steering box. And then you have your pump. The purpose of your pump is to create, via the belt driven pulley, hydraulic pressure which you can apply to that steering box, rack and pinion, and it makes it easier to turn the steering wheel. Now, you may have a pump with a remote reservoir like this one, or your reservoir may be integral to the pump like this one on my Jeep Grand Cherokee. Now, it doesn't really matter if you turn on your vehicle or when you go to turn your steering wheel, you hear that squealing. You have one of four problems. Either you have a low fluid situation, a bad fluid situation, meaning the fluid has reached the end of its service life and needs to be changed, your belt has reached the end of its service life, or your Christmas amateur hour, your pump has reached the end of its service life. Now, by far the most, I don't want to say difficult, but involved and expensive to fix is replacing your power steering pump. I actually have a video on that. It's difficult because you have to swap over your pulley, and they're not exactly cheap. I was looking at one for this 2009 Subaru, and they're like 250 bucks. And personally, I'm not really into that. So we're going to try to refurbish this one today. Now, the very first thing you're going to have to do when you encounter a power steering squeal is determine, is it just a low fluid situation? So find your power steering reservoir, whether it's remote or not, and you're going to check your fluid. They all check differently. Some of them have graduations on a dipstick. Some of them have a clear reservoir. Go ahead and figure out how to check the fluid on yours. Some of them you have to check hot. Some of them you have to check cold. Each one's different. Figure out yours and then check it. In my case, it's not a low fluid situation. All right, friends, so we've confirmed the fluid in my tank is at the proper level. The next thing we want to look at is our belt. Now in the Subaru, we have multiple belts set up. I think you see this more on Japanese cars, little tiny bitty 4-cylinders. You've got a belt over here for the alternator and the power steering pump, and you have a separate one over here turning your AC. On that big Jeep over there, it's one big old serpentine swirling all over the place. But the fact of the matter is, you want to start taking a look at her. You want to start looking for signs of wear along the edges here, frayed bits on the backing, and then the big clue you're looking for is not going to be on the belt. It's actually going to be around the belt. All right, look in the area around here. When a belt starts going bad, meaning it's getting eaten up and chewed up, there are signs everywhere. Look right here. This power steering pump's all like black and gray, right? It's not supposed to be. It's supposed to look like this alternator or this AC compressor. This is bits of rubber from the belt. See that? That's bits of rubber from the belt. It's over here. It's a little bit over here. You can even see it up here on the little intake piece for my air intake. If you do determine that it looks like your belt is the culprit, your pump and your fluid are fine, you can go ahead and give some of this a shot. It is belt conditioner. I think they want you to use it as a maintenance item. I've never had a ton of luck with this. You can get some deodorant from the dollar store, a little cheaper, and it'll do about the same thing. It's not a long-term solution. It may not even be an all-the-way home solution. In my experience, it will stop the squealing though for a few minutes, give you a little bit of sanity when that thing gets incessant. Alrighty, friends, let's talk about a real-world situation, my situation. My power steering pump is making that noise we just talked about. So I came out and I determined my fluid level was good. A little bit low, I could add 2 ounces, tops, less than that. It's not my fluid level. So I looked at my belt. My belt itself is good. Is it starting to get chewed up? Yes, but the belt itself does not look old or dry rotted or cracked. So I don't think it's being chewed up because of the condition of the belt. I think the pulley is has excessive resistance to turning because of the pump. Could be because of my fluid condition, could be because the pump is toast. What are we gonna do to figure that out? Well, I could throw a new pump on there, parts cannon. I don't have the cash for that. So we're going to use one of my favorite products, one of the few automotive brands that I trust almost across the board. Lucas. Lucas is one of the only brands that when they put something new out, I assume it's good and works and is safe, and that's the biggest one, just because I've never seen anyone have a problem with Lucas. I've used them my whole life, whatever. I'm going to do a video coming up talking about stop leak products and additives and stuff. I have a lot to say about it, but leave me a link down there in the squawk boxes if that's one that you would like to talk about. So let's go over to the car here. It's a lot harder on these Subarus. Those sneaky Japanese don't make it easy on you like the Americans do with the Jeep over there, but we're going to get through it anyway. Let's talk about it. Alrighty friends, first things first here, I think we're going to go ahead and move this piece, and that is strictly for the sake of filming, so that y'all can see more of what's going on. Actually, I like that a lot. It's going to give us some really good access here. Here's your pump. This is the low pressure supply line to the pump, and then you get high pressure going out to your rack and pinion. And then if you can see this guy over here, is that on the camera? You can see over here is our reservoir, and here is the return line from the rack and pinion back to the pump. So you have 3 lines we can deal with. You've got the supply to the pump, the high pressure to the rack and pinion, and the return to the reservoir. What I want to do today is, first off, we're going to remove this supply line to drain all the fluid out of the reservoir. So I like to save my washer fluid jugs because they just make great receptacles for old fluid. And you can cut it to whatever size, shape you need it, cram it down in your engine compartment, and you have a really nice old fluid catch. There we go. There's not a ton of fluid in there. I'm gonna give one of these a shot, but I don't think it's gonna work. These are really for small engine fuel lines. Let's see, is that gonna put enough pressure on our line? Probably not, but we're gonna try it anyway. Oh, it'll be better than nothing. So we'll do that. We'll do this. Now this power steering fitting is plastic, and a lot of power steering fittings are plastic. Be careful, you break that, you're gonna have a bad day. Now, can we do this without making a mess? I don't know, probably. Kind of. Not a lot of a mess, right? All right, there we go. That's gonna drain out. We'll take the top off our reservoir to help it along. Golden. Here's something nobody does. You get a hose clamp like this, you figure out what your application is. This hose clamp, the only thing I'm ever gonna wanna use it for is keeping this power steering hose on. That means it needs to be approximately that large. So cut the friggin' excess off. There's so many hose clamps out in the world. 19 miles of crap attached to them. I know what you're thinking, because if I cut that in the engine bay, it's gonna be sharp as all get out. It's gonna jump up and bite me. Hit with a little file. Take the sharp edges off. Bend the little tabs down. It's good as gold. Look, you can't cut yourself on it. It's nice and neat. Plus, now I got a show car. Alrighty friends, I cannot stress how much easier this is on a Jeep or something with a Saginaw style steering box like a heavy duty pickup truck. But what we're basically gonna do here, I lost, you know, I got those pliers. They bend, you know what I mean? Just a little bit at the tip. They like turn over. I lost them, and my goodness, I didn't realize how much I used them. Gotta go to Harbor Freight today and get some more, because honestly, that's where they were from. They were just some Harbor Freight jams. Anyway, the point is, we addressed the supply line. We got all the fluid out of that and the fluid out of the reservoir. And now I'm going to remove the return line to the reservoir. We're going to put it in our catch basin. This reservoir is plastic. 2009 to 19, 20, 21, 22. So it's 13 years old. The amount of heat cycles that go on in an engine compartment, plastic components age. So when you are working on a 10, 15, 20-year-old power steering reservoir that's plastic, be careful, man, because it's going to be brittle. And in fact, I may have pulled this out of the vehicle to get this off if this car was a little older. Now, this is our return. Let's get our bucket of no-no juice. Delicious no-no juice. Doesn't that look good? Subaru, is all this crap on the intake really necessary? I did buy a new belt. We're not going to put that on, but talk about that at the end. I'm trying to get... Goodness gracious. Life is hard, and it's just harder if you're stupid. Subaru. All right, one last little diagram and then we'll get to her. Essentially, picture this. Power steering fluid goes from your reservoir into your pump where it's pressurized. It then goes into your rack and pinion. It is then sent back to your reservoir via this line. It can no longer get back to the reservoir because we've removed the line and put it in there. So we've taken a closed system and we've opened it up. So what we're gonna do now is put power steering fluid in here, turn the car on. And I'm gonna watch that while topping this off, and I'm gonna keep pouring power steering fluid in there until the fluid that comes out of here is clean. Does that make sense? At that time, I'll shut the car down and I know that all the fluid in this system is clean fluid. Pretty good, right? Friends, one last thing worth noting, if you have a reservoir like this, you're gonna need to do something to plug up that hole. I found this little bit of clear hose. It's gonna work perfect for me. I got the end a little warm so it would slide right over there, and then she locked right on just nice. It zips up here above the level of the reservoir, so we should be fine. Additionally, we'll be able to check out the level of the fluid there. It's kind of cool. If you had to, you could cram an old nut in there, or bolt rather, but we're going to be just fine because physics and stuff. Oh yeah, Nazi bag, eh bud? See if we can keep her going for a minute, really flush it out. All right, let's shut her down. So as you can see, we were able to flush through quite a bit more than I really meant to, if I'm being honest, but I got carried away with the video. And you see it started popping out pretty gross. And by the end, we had some really nice fluids. All right, friends, it is at this point that I am gonna put in our Lucas. Now, additives are just such a touchy subject in the automotive community. Everybody has a couple they trust and a whole list of ones that they will swear up and down, left and right, aren't just junk, but they will brick your motor quick. And the fact of the matter is we all don't agree. I'm just gonna be honest with y'all, I trust Lucas. I've never put Lucas in a system and had it eat itself. I mean, I've had to put it in and had it not work, but I'd rather have it not work than brick my motor, do something terrible. The secret to Lucas tends to be high viscosity, right? The stuff you're throwing in there is just real thick. I mean, look at this stuff we're about to dump in there. But the fact of the matter is, the geniuses over at Lucas, they've got her figured, man. I tell you what, because it does the trick. Another one, I love the Lucas crankcase engine oil treatment in your 4-liter. That'll quiet down your flat tappet lifters here and there. You know what we're gonna do? We're gonna put the top back on this. See if we can't jimmy jam her square down in that hole there and really give her the business. Let's see. What do you think? You think we can do her? I do. I certainly do. We'll cut that off. Whoops. I said cut that off. There we go. A little angle of the dangle. Ow. Just let that thing eat for a while. Come back in an hour and that'll be done. Oh, just dropped my torch. Here's a good one, friends. While you're waiting for that to all drain into your system, why not clean your cap up? Ugh, that thing is gross. When was the last thing that time this thing was cleaned? It's almost like somebody's been neglecting their power steering fluid cap. Oh, that is so much better. Would you look at that? Well, all the letters are good, but the Ching Chong Wing Wongs up there, I can't seem to get the grime out of those. But, I mean, I'll be dipped. That does look a lot better, don't it? Alrighty, friends, we just got back from the test drive. Just steers like a dream. Two things to contend with that are very likely going to happen to you as well. One, you may not notice, maybe not be picking up on camera, I had spilled some fluid on the manifolds when they got hot. They go ahead and smoke, no big deal, nothing to worry about. The other problem is that we're just a little bit overfilled. No big deal, I think. Let's see if I can't get my baster down in there. Just pull a little bit out. How come every time I turn the darn camera on, there goes the phone? Every time. Oh, it's the wife lady. Who, buddy bug, I tell you what. All right, wife lady's been talked to. How we doing on our old level here? Oh, this is gonna perfect. This last one we pull out of there is gonna bring us just to where we need. So there we go. Now we're almost done, friends. What I am gonna do now, and some of y'all noticed, is I am gonna change the belt. Why am I gonna change the belt? I made a whole point about saying that the belt was not my issue. Well, they were selling the belt for 18 bucks over at the Advanced Auto. This is my new daily driver. And this belt took a little bit of abuse while that bad fluid was in there, so I'm going to change her. I'm going to call that preventative maintenance. All right, preventative maintenance is something you do on your vehicle to prevent an issue down the line. Usually what you're doing is you're replacing something that has a service life, a consumable part, before it is consumed, before its service life is empty. You don't want to wait to change a belt until it snaps. I don't want to be on the side of the road with no power steering and no alternator. That doesn't sound fun to me. I take this car 4 hours away to upstate New York sometimes, so I'm gonna go change that belt. You guys, go down there in the squawk boxes and leave me a comment. What do you think about this video? What did you think about my process? How do you diagnose power steering problems differently? I'm willing to bet this is not how they do it in a shop. If you got lifts and a couple $100,000 worth of tools and techs and all that, maybe you guys are doing it different. But if you just have a driveway and a monkey brain, probably work for you. I'm gonna go change the belt. You guys should probably like the video and then subscribe. You guys do that and then you can do whatever you want. I don't care. As always, thanks for watching. See you next time. Appreciate it.